we can both agree JB Bickerstaff really gets Isaiah Stewart and how to use him.
Yep.
And I was reading an article, shout out to Pistons Power, because I had no idea this was even a thing. I haven't really been up on my, new CBA rules and regulations. So Isaiah Stewart will not be eligible for an all defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm reading this new CBA, this is what it says. Players must play over 20 minutes in 65 games to be eligible for all defensive teams. Stu has only played 28 games this season, over 20 minutes a game.
Wow.
So he will not be eligible for any defensive teams. Now, obviously, I kind of feel like, the players voted on this. So I guess it's kind of a thing, but like, it's not just Stu. I mean, like, look, a guy like Luka Doncic will not be eligible for all NBA honors or any type of NBA awards. But what's kind of like just your overall thoughts on Stu not being eligible to make an all defensive team this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a shame just from the standpoint of when he is on the court, he is objectively one of the best defensive players in the league right now, especially as a rim protector. The jump that he's taken on that side of the floor this season, really coming into his own in his identity, has been really impressive. And like he's talked about how he wants to win Defensive Player of the Year someday, and how that's a big thing of just being the best player on that side of the court that he can be. But I think the other thing that makes Isaiah Stewart special too is that at the end of the day, he really doesn't care about this stuff very much. Like it's really about winning and doing his job to the best of his ability. Obviously, every player wants to be able to get some form of recognition in that light. We all, like you don't get into the game without wanting to win MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. Like those are obviously things that everyone aspires for. But I don't think this is this is going to be his only opportunity for that. Obviously, I only see his role in the league for years to come just continuing to expand, especially if he keeps playing at that level on the defensive side of the court. But that's kind of it's the interesting thing that you kind of have to, the interesting line you have to walk when you have two talented bigs like Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, right? Because they both give you very important things, but very, things that both clash with each other, and also like different things that you need at different times, right? Like Duren's, he's not quite the same rim protector, the defensive player, but he is a great lob threat. He's someone that, is great in the pick and roll with Cade. He's someone that brings a lot of gravity towards the rim. And then when you need that, like those stops, and you need that high energy and to cause more turnovers, do those things. Isaiah Stewart's great for that too. We've seen them experiment in years past with those guys playing on the court with each other, and it just never quite worked. Right. So, as far as those rules and, like the validity of them, it is kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it's like you want like on the league side, they want to encourage players to, to not like participate in load management. You want them out there as much as humanly possible. But at the same time, when you have situations like these where it's like, okay, but this is a player who clearly deserves some recognition for his level of play. This is someone that is clearly one of the top 5 defensive bigs in the league. How is that not an all defensive team caliber player for consideration? But it's just, like you said, it's something that the players ultimately agreed to when they went to the negotiating table. It's something that, that they allowed to be put in that collective bargaining agreement. But, again, it's just, it's an unfortunate circumstance. But, again, that I think the people who do watch and the people who do recognize, I think there's been a lot more respect going Isaiah Stewart's way this season. And quite frankly, I just hope that continues.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, kind of given like how he's played. And I was like, maybe he'll make all defensive team, because he's kind of like talked about, like, I went up to your point. I think it was in the beginning of media day where he's like, yeah, I want to, make all defensive team, possibly win some defensive player of the years. And I think the role that JB has put Stu in really maximizes his talents in rim protection and banging down low in the post. He did hit a 3 today, which, you give him that much space, he's going to shoot it. Obviously, he's not shooting as many threes as last season, but to kind of get back to this all defensive, team point. Maybe the players will look at this case because he's averaging almost, I think he is averaging a block and a half a game in under 20 minutes.
Yep,
That's elite.
it is.
They just showed a graphic on FanDuel last week that Isaiah Stewart has the lowest, um, I think it was field goal percentage with opposing players since like Roy Hibbert or 10 years ago. And
Wow.
like if you want to like go down a rabbit hole with like the Indiana Pacers, like Roy Hibbert had a little stint where he was one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. He was seven
Yep.
two, and what makes it even more impressive is Isaiah Stewart 6'8",
Yep.
and like he's gotten so much better at just like timing, switching, drop coverage, not falling for pump fakes with guards and wings. Um, Maybe they'll change it for him, but I read this and I was kind of disappointed that he's not going to be even eligible to make a all defensive team because I think he's, in my opinion, the best backup center in the league.
I think that's hard to dispute at this point, especially with what he's bringing you on that side of the ball. Like the Pistons have one of the deepest big rotations in the league, and it's funny because they got rid of a lot of their bigs this offseason.
Yeah, it's honestly wild that like that's like even a thing, but it's not just Stu that's going to be affected by like all NBA honors or just
No,
NBA awards for that matter. It's collectively there are a few players that are going to lose some money from it, but hey, the players voted on it, so they kind of have to um, eat it.